Good morning and welcome to the Stronger Than My Excuses show. I'm Julie Watson, your host for the 8-week pilot series, and this is our second last show in the series. So we're really excited to be here. We've got a wonderful panel today, and every week we've been bringing you a different topic. And what we talk about are issues that are surrounding business and more on the mindset type of area, but what we're doing is making sure that we always ask every week 3 questions. The first question is, why are these things happening to us, whether it's fear or isolation or doubt or procrastination? And the second question relates to what happens if we don't do that? What happens if we overcome that fear or whatever that issue might be? But we always finish each show with how you can stop doing this and how you can fix that issue, because we know that 80% of small business close down within the first 2 years. And that's what our aim is, to give you action tools to really stop that happening. So you can subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you don't miss any episode. You can watch them at your leisure, and then hopefully you'll get some action tools that you can really make your business move forward and prosper. So I'd like to acknowledge that we are meeting on the land of the Darkinjung people, and we really appreciate this and we respect them and their elders past, present and emerging. Now I'll start and introduce our co-hosts. So we've got Adam Rice. Now Adam is the Principal Director of AJR Counselling, Coaching and Consulting. He's a credentialed mental health clinician. He's a psychotherapist, and he's also a co-joint lecturer at the Faculty of Health and Medicine at the University of Newcastle. Welcome to the show, Adam.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks for having me. I'll tell you what, I was just saying before how much I've learnt just from being a co-host on here. It's been amazing.
Yes, well, thank you. We love having you.
Thank you.
And your insights, yes. And also like to welcome Nico Davis-Cook. Welcome, Nico.
Thank you.
Nico's from NDC Coaching and Training, and she's the coordinator of a networking group, and the group is called Women Embracing Change, and that's here on the Central Coast. And she runs events and workshops, and we had a workshop just last week.
We certainly
And it was really, really good fun working together, and that was called Mind Your Language. So it was about communication for success. And Nico is a fantastic networker, knows all about the topic we're talking about today. So yes, welcome.
I'm really looking forward to this topic because I think it's a really important one for everybody in small business to get a handle on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to you both. And now Nico and Adam will welcome our guests today.
Well, it's my pleasure to introduce Patrick to everybody this morning. And chatting to him before, I've discovered that he's a family man, a very proud grandfather with a passion for genealogy. But so far as this morning's concerned, he's also, and this is very important, he's the founder and director of PMZ Marketing and a provider of leading e-business solutions. He specialises in helping clients achieve business success with marketing results. So please welcome PMZ Marketing, Patrick Zuluaga.
Thank you, Nico. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, it's going to be great.
And it's my pleasure to introduce Barbara Ketley, who is the CEO of Marketing and Communications Agency for Milestone-Belanova and a partner in the innovative Webbooks company. She currently serves as president of the business group Wild Fig Service Alliance and is a member of the Regional Advisory Council of the New South Wales Business Chamber. Lots of titles on the Central Coast. After national and international marketing roles, Barbara founded her own agency over 20 years ago. Milestone-Belanova provides technology solutions in addition to traditional marketing services of digital, design and strategic marketing. Please welcome to the show, Barbara Ketley.
Welcome. Yes, thank you so much for joining us. And I'd also like to acknowledge our sponsors and thank our sponsors very much, particularly our major sponsor, AJR Counselling, Coaching and Consulting. And you'll see all the other sponsors coming up on your screen, and there is room for more sponsors. So come, get in touch and you'll be able to join our wonderful show. So, and thanks again, of course, to Philip Mainpar, our wonderful videographer.
And also, thanks to Nexus, because without them, this wonderful hub, the Nexus co-working space, is just amazing here at Wyong. So, you know, they've been hosting us for the last 7 weeks.
Yes.
Months.
Be good if it was
And the
mine.
next series too, hopefully. Yes, please.
And remember that every show will finish off with an action tool that you can take home and use straight away. And so far we've discussed lots of different topics, haven't we? Isolation, fear and doubt, guilt, receiving and giving inspiration, procrastination, and last week was action, which I thought was really good.
Yeah.
So keep watching, there's plenty more to come. Some of us will be here live during the morning of the broadcast from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and that means that we can actually respond to your questions almost immediately.
And today our topic is don't beat yourself up over setbacks. Just don't give up.
Yes, exactly. And it's so important. We all make mistakes. And, you know, setbacks are going to happen. And so often you hear people saying, oh, that's it. That's all. I'm hopeless. I can't do it. But that's not the case. You just need to start again. Don't give up. That's the main point. And we have our own issues with the show. You notice there's nothing on the screens today. So we're not letting it get in our way. No excuses here. We're getting on with the show. The show must go on. And all 5 of us will give you our responses to each of the questions as we go along. So the whole idea is it's a bit of a discussion. And let's start with our first question. So I'm going to ask you this one, Patrick, to start with.
Okay.
Why? Why are we so hard on ourselves when sometimes things go wrong, or sometimes when our perception of something or someone isn't what we thought it was, and we may have misinterpreted the information. So how can we, you know, get over that?
That's quite interesting, because one of the things I've noticed over the years is people really are hard on themselves. You know, when you do something, you're going to encounter the possibilities of making a mistake, having a setback, or having a failure. It's part of doing something. If you don't do anything, of course, you won't have any of these issues. So one of the things I notice is people are so hard on themselves. Oh, even myself, when I do make a mistake, one of the first things I said, what did you do wrong? Instead of looking at what was the situation. Maybe there were things that were beyond your control. So I would probably suggest that people really should think about the situation rather than look at it personally. Oh, what did I possibly cause? And then look at it from that point of view. You will be able to look at, okay, this is a learning experience, rather than, oh, beat yourself up. Oh, you made a mistake. You made a mistake. Yeah.
Learning experience.
Right. Yeah.
I'll take that on board. What about you, Barbara?
I think it's actually okay to beat yourself up a little bit, to be perfectly honest, because when you're doing that, you're actually taking responsibility for what has happened. So you've got really 3 options. You can just shrug your shoulders and go, who cares? You know, but you're not learning from that. Or you can play the victim and you can say, someone did that to me. Or you can say, what part did I have to play in that? And that's actually empowering, because there are things that you can focus on that you can change, and there are things that you can't change. So I actually think, I usually give myself the day. I'm okay with being a little bit emotional and going through all the questions that you've just said. You know, what did I do wrong? Why didn't I see that coming? You know, what could I have done differently? And then the next day, that's it. I've got to get up and I've got to have action. And if I've got action, then I'm not so emotional about it. I feel I'm moving forward.
Yes. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I actually like both of the 2 different ways about beating yourself up and you like shrugging it off, because I think we have to respect other people's view of the world, and we do actually have choice over how we actually respond to something, or how we actually even feel about it. You find empowerment by actually letting yourself get a bit beaten up, where you find empowerment by kind of shrugging your shoulders. And I think that's a really important thing to know, that there's no right or wrong answer, but as long as you kind of move through it in a way and take that next step.
I think both of us said it was a learning experience.
That's
And, you know,
important.
people learn in different ways.
Yeah.
I need to know exactly what I did so I can fix it. That's my way. So,
Examining what has happened. What were the circumstances, rather than what did I do wrong? Because there will be probably a lot of things that have happened, and you really need to sit down and, like you said, take a day off to understand what has happened.
Very good.
Nice. Because one of the things I heard recently, actually, was quite interesting. That word fail. which is basically what a setback is, isn't it? We've just sort of failed at something. If you use it as an acronym of first attempt in learning, it's
That's a good point.
it is a learning opportunity, so that it's a choice for either sort of reframing where you're going to go, or to reset yourself and say, right, I can do that better next time.
Yeah.
And it could be fail and then sail and then tail for first attempt, second attempt, third attempt. Because sometimes we do fail at the same
Over
thing
and
a couple
over.
of times. And
Yeah.
it's not necessarily because we're doing the same thing over and over. We try it different ways, and it might take 2 or 3 goes
It may.
to fail, sail and tail,
tail.
and then get it, and then eventually you get it right if you don't give up.
Nice one.
Yeah,
Absolutely right,
but
yeah.
when this happens to me, it can be in the smallest ways. So I write myself a list, and in the mornings I like to start with my list of sitting down and having some sometimes visualization and some gratitude, and really 3 minutes each, maybe. It's nothing. It's no time out of my day. And yet sometimes I get up and I muck around and I do other, and I start looking at emails. That's and then I really beat myself up that I didn't do the things I wanted to do that were on that list for me or anything, and I get really cranky. Sorry, I should say I used to get. It's not so much anymore. I used to get really cranky, and now I just say, you know what? Okay, it didn't happen. Or sometimes I might be staying at my parents' place, and I wake up there and I can't sit down and go, hang on a minute, I've just got to take 3 minutes while I visualise and gratitude and do all these things, and I don't have to do it every day, and I don't beat myself up about it anymore, which I used to do really badly, and I used to think it was terrible. I'm not going to succeed now because I didn't do that every day like people said I should. Well, no, I just get on with it and put it down for the next day, or even if it's a week. Doesn't matter. I haven't stopped. Is the main thing. So
Progress.
And you've got to be constructive.
yes,
I think that's the thing. It can't just be emotional. And if you're getting into that stage of self-bullying, then I think you've got to be able to recognise that. Am I going through this process to actually have an outcome, or am I just being unkind to myself?
yes,
That's
realise
either
it.
anger, or sometimes you just freeze up. Well, what do I do now? Or in some cases I've seen as well is people will just jump to another idea. Oh, that didn't work. I'll go do something else.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm going to move on to the next question, because this is the solution here seems to be unanimous. Don't give up. Okay. So we all agree with that we can't allow setbacks to end our dreams or our goals. So Barbara, before we get into what we're going to do to fix this problem, how do we know the difference between a setback and time to call it quits? Is this just another setback if you have a few setbacks in the one area, or do you go, you know what, this just isn't working, I need to just stop and maybe start something new or finish what I'm doing? How do we know that difference?
Okay, I actually think there's 3 types of failures. Setback is probably the easiest one. A setback means that your end goal hasn't changed, it's still attainable, but something has stopped you achieving it in the way that you want to achieve it. So it might be a time delay, you might have lost a client, or something has happened, but it doesn't mean that your goal has changed. It's still attainable. Elon Musk on the weekend, for example, right? If you saw his Cybertruck, the bulletproof Cybertruck with the unbreakable windows, and during the demonstration, the windows broke, and, for us, that could be really humiliating, and we go, oh my goodness, that's awful. But he just said, room for improvement. It was just a setback. So I think you've got to examine it in that way. The second one is a roadblock, and that is where you can't continue down the path. Something's got to change. So the goal's still okay, but you can't reach it in the same way. So you might have to change your product, you might have to look at marketing it differently, but you've actually got to make some real change. Neither of those two stop you attaining your dreams.
No.
The third one, though, is the dead end, essentially. I call it the dead end, because you've tried everything. You've modified it, you've listened to people, and there's no way that this is going to work. And it could mean that the idea is obsolete. Your competitors have come in with something, or you've realised you don't actually have the skill set to do it. And even in that situation, if you can't think of any way that you can get past that, you should talk to someone. Because if you haven't got an idea, they might.
Yes, I had that down to mention talk. If you talk about it, because we did speak about that on isolation will kill your dreams. Get out there and network. And it's not just network, but it's talking to your family, your colleagues, to anybody to make sure, because someone else can come up with an idea that you hadn't thought of, that's completely left field, and you think, actually, that might work. That might be an idea.
It's so interesting that even in that setback one, you know, where it's so easy to fix it, it can be so overwhelming. You know, you can think it's massive, where it's really just means that you've just got to put a bit more time and a bit more effort in.
Yes.
I think essentially you need to take the time off, really to understand the situation, analyze, get some help before you can make a decision, because you might not know which one of those three situations you're faced with, unless you really spend the time analyzing and getting some help as well, looking at the situation and what you should do going forward.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's when you have that sort of distant perspective that you can get a more of an overall view of what's happening. And, you know, maybe sometimes even though you're sort of working towards a specific goal, sometimes you need to just adjust the goalposts. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that you sort of still aiming in the right direction. Yeah,
and goals are allowed to change.
Oh, totally.
You might have a goal now that you wouldn't have had 10 years ago and you won't have in 10 years' time. So your goal is allowed to change a little bit, and your goalposts. So you are always evaluating where you're at, looking at the big picture, and when you get a setback, sometimes it could end up being
Better.
much better, a much better outcome.
Just
and
like
that's happened to me.
just like stepping stones when you're trying to cross a river, right? You're that one there. I'll go to that stone there. So it's stepping stones to go to your direction.
That's it.
as
You're
well.
still getting across the
Still
river.
getting a river.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
right,
But which
yeah.
one do you use?
Yeah, there's a presupposition that comes to mind for me, and it's the map is not the territory, and that has a couple of different meanings for me. But one in particular is that you can have a map in front of you, you know, and you can know where to get from here to your destination, but it doesn't actually show you the pedestrians or the car accidents or the cows crossing the road, and sometimes you have to actually take a different direction to get to your goal.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I got out of what you were saying was acceptance. Sometimes actually accepting that there might be a dead end and that it didn't work. That's okay, but having that awareness, the acceptance, and you can action it in some way, whether that's calling it quits or actually actioning it in a different way to get to your goal.
Absolutely. And revisiting what you wanted to achieve in the first place, and do you still want to achieve it, and do you still believe in it? And if you do, it probably is just a roadblock along the way.
And another thing about, you talked about talking to people, having a little mastermind group or a group of people that can hold you a little bit accountable to your goals, because if you start changing your goal purely because you've had a setback, and like you said, it's not a roadblock as such, and it's not a dead end, it's just a setback. So if you've got a group, a mastermind group or whatever you like to call it, of people that can hold you accountable, usually not family, usually not people whose feelings will be hurt, someone that can say to you, actually that sounds more like an excuse than a reason to stop doing it. And they can make you feel like you can really see that big picture that you were talking about and go and bring you back to your goals, and they can even get you excited about your goals again. And it works in reverse. You're helping them at the same time. I love a little group.
I think very often we look at the destination and we judge ourselves in that we haven't achieved that yet. And we don't look at all the successes along the way. So having somebody else to go, you might not have got there when you wanted to, but look what you've done is actually very powerful.
It really is.
Getting that feedback. Absolutely right.
So now that we've determined, you know, what a setback is and that we can push through it, what advice can we offer to people, to the viewers that are watching, to help them push forward and not worry so much about their setbacks, not beat themselves up? So Nico, when things go wrong, how can people stay motivated long after they've finished watching our show, long after they've been to the last seminar or, you know, conference?
Well, for me, my key is to actually sort of stay connected to what it is I'm actually aiming to achieve. So I do that in a number of ways, but I mean, basically I connect myself emotionally to it. So when I've achieved that goal, how am I going to feel? What's going to happen? What am I going to see in my life? What am I telling myself about how it's all going to pan out? So, you know, I get a little bit of a visual sort of picture happening, and I really sort of step into that feeling of this is what it is I'm aiming for. So therefore, what can I now do that's going to, I've gone all goosebumps. But the, so what is, you bring that energy to it, and then that's going to help connect you and find the next step. What's the smallest little thing I can do? So I think for me personally, it's remaining connected emotionally, sort of spiritually, if you want to go woo-woo, but, you know, sort of getting that energy into the passion.
It is an energy.
Yeah.
For you to get goosebumps just talking about it, and that starts to give me goosebumps, so I start to think about how excited I get about my goals, and it is about that, isn't it?
Because that sort of pulls me forwards.
Yes.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, there's a few presuppositions that come to mind, and I think actually reframing what we say sometimes as well, is like we mentioned in the last question, don't give up, but thinking about what you were saying as well, you know, maybe reframing it to something like keep going until you know it's time to stop. It kind of changes what you do. You get up and you go. But the presuppositions that come to mind, and Nico would probably know these, is the person with the most flexibility controls the system or the situation. Therefore, you know, being open to you know setbacks and thinking about different ways of doing things, and always remembering that people have the resources they need at any one time to be able to do whatever they want. You know, so I think that's my way of actually thinking about things, but that's what keeps me going and getting me motivated, is that thinking about, like you said, just that, what's that one little step that I could take today? And even if it's a minute one, it's still a step forward.
Yes.
Doesn't have to be a huge step, just one step. And it might be just getting over your own fear. Okay, I'm just going to move through this for a minute.
Yeah, because if your goal's out here and you're always trying to achieve that goal, and that is running your life, then you're always feeling inadequate. You're always feeling like you haven't achieved anything. But if you can look at your goal in the morning, get excited about it, and then just lay one brick every day towards. So the wall might be huge, which is overwhelming, and you think, I'm never going to get there. I'm not achieving anything. I haven't built my wall yet. But if you just lay one brick perfectly every day, and you can see where you've come from and what you've achieved so far, then eventually, before you know it, the momentum starts, and you're on a roll, and the wall is just starting to build on its own, even without you. And then you're not living your life waiting. You're enjoying your life for the day. You're doing something that's really positive in the moment, and that's where gratitude comes in as well. Every morning, I have hot water running over my body.
Noticing what you were saying earlier.
And you can be grateful for the smallest thing, to think, I love life right now while I'm achieving my goal. But I don't have to focus on my goal all day. I just focus on that one brick that I'm laying perfectly. So,
I think, sorry.
Patrick?
So I think basically what has to happen is people have to expect failures, setbacks to happen.
Yes.
Anytime you're doing something, accept that it will happen. Look at it, there has to be a reason why it happened. And looking at, okay, how can I learn from the experience of the setback or the failure? That should be the attitude. If everyone can have an attitude of acceptance, failures will happen. As long as you're doing something, the possibility of a failure will occur. Accept it. It'll happen because there is a reason behind that failure. Then learn from it and then move on. I think that's the key here, is the acceptance that failures do happen. What can we learn from that activity that's happened as well?
And pretty much every major successful business person in the world has lots of failures, you know, because business people tend to risk. You know, we're not in steady jobs in government departments. We're here for a reason. And that reason is we like to be outside our comfort zone. You know, running a business is so much harder than being employed, because when you're employed, you only have your own core skill set. Now, you know, in a business, we've got to know finance, we've got to know HR, legals, marketing, all these different things. And we don't come equipped to do that when we first start in business.
No.
So we are going to fail.
Paula Martin mentioned that the other week. She said running a business is one big problem-solving issue.
Exercise.
That's what you're doing. You're solving problems all the time.
That's right.
Absolutely right.
And success isn't linear. Success is peaks and troughs.
Yeah.
Ups and downs.
Hopefully with more peaks than
Than
troughs,
troughs,
and you get up there. But that's just how it's going to be. So you have to have an acceptance. That is what it is running a business.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think there's a saying that Einstein developed the light bulb after 1,000 times, 999 failures,
Yeah.
but he got it once.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's how it works. So, well, look, I'm going to just wrap up by asking everyone for a 20-second hot tip that everyone can use straight away in their business to stop worrying about setbacks and push forward.
Okay.
Barbara, start with you.
Okay, so I'm an action person, so I always feel empowered when I can take action. So I would say focus on what you can change and not on what you can't change, because there's always something that you can do to get out of a bad situation, whether it's mitigate your risk, whether it's change in a new direction. There's always something that you can do.
Nice.
Very good.
I would look at it also from that point of view, but probably one of the major ones I would also suggest would be take ownership and responsibility of your actions and the actions that you will take going forward. Because without that responsibility and acknowledgement that you have the ownership of the actions that you're taking and the actions you took, it'll be all diluted in terms of, oh, what am I going to do next? But if you take that
Yes.
ownership, you'll be able to go forward quite strongly.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too. The ownership is important and taking that responsibility, but also just kind of knowing that if it's something that you don't know how to do, ask somebody who does, because that's something that I've had to learn very quickly. But putting trust in somebody else that can actually do the job. And helping me to make that next step. So sometimes taking that next step is actually by asking somebody else to take that step with you.
Yeah.
Nice. And pretty much on the same sort of theme, Julie, I'd like to add that when things are going sort of slightly wrong, maybe the thing to do is ask the best question you can. So what is it I can learn from here? What is going to be the best step forward? So it's in the question that you ask yourself rather than beating yourself up.
Yes. And I like to think that my tip would be to get out of your head and write it down. So thinking about it is never enough for me. I need to write it down. And I was told once, just do a big brain dump, write everything down, and then you can see where you might have had some setbacks or what you've got to do that is productive, that's positive, that's going to put you in the right direction again, rather than fluffing around and doing the things that are just mucking up your head even more, but getting out of your head and getting it on paper. And then the next day you can look at it again, like you said, take the day, look at it the next day at everything you've got and go, I don't actually need to worry about that.
Yeah.
I can move forward on this and
Nice.
it will change my direction. So
Nice
get out of your
one.
head.
Nice one. So thanks everybody for your contributions today, and thanks again to our sponsors, particularly AJR Consulting, Coaching and Counselling, Coaching and Consulting. IDSU.
IDSU. Very good.
Other sponsors will appear on your screen, and we thanks to our film crew, Philip Mainpower Productions again. Now we talk about mindset, but please, if you've got any urgent matters that's causing you stress, please call Lifeline on 13 11 14.
Yeah, and please watch next week. So next week's topic is repetition, the importance of repeated learning and doing, and that's like getting this into your muscle. Yeah, our guests are Jacinta Outlaw, the director, The Fifth Element, and Susan Rodak from ANZ Mobile Lending Central Coast. And remember, you can watch us through YouTube, and where you can also subscribe. We're on Facebook on the Stronger Than My Excuses page, and on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Podcast will be available soon. Please ask a question, leave a comment. Like I said, share the show. We want to help as many people as possible.
Yes, we do. And next week is going to be our last show, so that'll be interesting. And the funny thing with the repetition topic is that we are not just going to talk about the importance of repetition, but we're going to repeat some of the things we've already done, which is part of course, that ties right in with it. So I think the learnings that we've had from every show are really important, and repeating them is really important, because what happens is people watch a show and they think, right, I know what to do now. off I go. I'm going to have a successful business. I've been to that seminar, I went to that conference, I watched that show, now I know what to do. That's not how it works. You need to watch it over and over and get it really into your head until it becomes a habit and a pattern. So, but look, I'd like to really thank again our guests. So Patrick Zuluaga from PMZ Marketing.
Thank you.
And Barbara Ketley from Milestone-Belanova.
Thank you.
And of course my co-host Nico Davis-Cook from NDC Coaching and Training. And Adam Rice from AJR Counselling, Coaching and Consulting.
Thank you.
Thank you again for coming, and thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next week for our last episode. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.